Yo, what's up gang? This is John coming at you from Wheeler Motors, and today we got this special thing to show you guys. Now, I don't know if there's too many videos out there, but this is one of the first in the US that we're doing a video on. And if you're not too sure what it is, it's the second electric trials bike with a clutch attached to it. If you don't know what it is, you're in for a good treat. Now stay tuned. All right, so if you took some time and you had some time to guess what it is, this is a Spanish bike, and it's a fully electric, like I said, second bike with a real working clutch, and it is the one and only MECATECHNO Dragonfly. Now this is pretty exciting because this is one of two bikes that are here in the state of Hawaii, and the first one to touch the dirt, if I'm not mistaken. As you can see, we've hit some dirt in it already. You know, we're not fashion riders over here, you know what I mean? We get the bike working. But starting from the top, this is some really familiar stuff, which I kind of like. First of all, with your throttle, you have a Magura throttle, similar to the older EMs. And they've actually given you some S3 team replica bars, which is nice, you know, to come stock with the bike. You have nice anodized brake tech, front brake here. And of course, this is the one. We're familiar with this because we like to ride the EMs as well. This is a brake tech mineral oil clutch master cylinder. Safety switch, of course, which every electric trials bike has. And if you're wondering, it's a little familiar. It looks a little bit familiar. This is the map switch, and I believe this is the on and off. So instead of having a PRB or a regenerative brake with it, it just has an on and off switch here. And then of course you have your kill switch there, which is pretty awesome. All right, now moving down to the frame, of course, you know, this is another company. Obviously right off the bat you can tell that they didn't take a regular trials bike and just throw an electric motor in there and throw a battery in there. No, they took it from the ground up and they built this bike like literally from scratch. Yeah, so this tubular style frame, which is a little bit similar to a maybe a vertical style. It's a tubular frame here, comes down to multiple pieces that come down steel, and then it connects to a aluminum subframe which holds the pegs and of course holds the swing arm. And not to get too ahead of myself, but for this particular model, this uses a SelectCon controller. And if that sounds familiar to you, it's because same controller that you see in the electric motion bikes, which is kind of neat. So when the electric motion, they put their controller back up here, whereas MECATECHNO, they put the controller up front, and you do have a cooling plate, which is pretty interesting. You know, hopefully it doesn't get too muddy, but that's up there right in the front. Now MECATECHNO has gone with M4 forks, and this is a little bit different M4. Some of the people who are real familiar with the M4s are used to the air forks that they used to offer for the Montesas, and actually anything trials, they used to offer an air fork. But this is a spring oil combination, so it is typical of a regular fork style. It's a little bit lighter than the Techs, I've been told, as far as overall weight, even though the Tech aluminums are oil and spring as well, but I heard overall they're just a little bit lighter. Now moving down here, connected to that front master cylinder is a brake tech 4-piston. This is really familiar. This is kind of standard to all the higher end bikes, which is actually pretty nice. And with your front wheels, you're not going to get Michelin's, but you're going to get, it's a little bit hard to see with the sun, but you're going to get some Dunlops D803Fs GPs. So these are the trials from Dunlops. Still real nice, real soft tire. You know, still top of the line on the market. All right, so moving on to this unique style as far as the battery goes. Like, this is the MECATECHNO motor. It's a lot smaller than the electric motion, which is kind of nice. You know, it's not as big, it's not as bulky. I've yet to ride this to see the power, but you know, with all the electric motors coming out these days, and I'm not surprised they decided to make a smaller motor, a tighter, smaller unit. And this back here is where I believe you have your clutch mechanism. Maybe coming over to this side, here you go. You can see there's a clutch mechanism here. And the nice thing about the MECATECHNO versus the EM, it looks like it's a little bit easier to be serviced. You know, it's out here. You can take these bolts and you can take this right off without having to do some major surgery on the bike to change the clutch plates. And I was told that this is also a diaphragm clutch, so you get a real trials bike feel. It's not a basket style like a regular dirt bike. All right, your skid plate is pretty unique in the sense that it's really high. Most trials bikes come out a little bit more, so you're saving in the front, I would say about a good 2 inches off the front. And you know, that's in whatever situation, it's actually kind of good. So have some space there, you save some space, which is nice. And this comes with S3 hard rock foot pegs. That's nice. Comes right off the bat with some aluminum pegs, a little bit better grip than the steel ones. And this is the unique one. I don't know many trials bikes that have this, but basically this bike here offers a PDS style shock. So it's an Öhlins too, and it comes with the Öhlins. It's fully adjustable, but it has no linkage. This one goes straight to the swing arm. And even for me, I'm very curious to see how this bike reacts, because I've never ridden a bike this light, and the bike weight is about 135 pounds, which is also ridiculously light. And with this shock, with this style of shock, yeah, we'll see how it goes with not having a linkage, having this direct swing action. I don't know of any other trials bike or major brand trials bike with this style setup as far as the rear suspension. I believe every major brand has a linkage, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am, please put it in the comments and let me know so that I can be aware. I'll look into it. All right. The one thing that I did find unique about this bike as well is that they've built in the brackets for the pegs, and the pegs actually mount up to this aluminum piece, and if they get damaged or whatnot, you can actually remove them by taking these 2 bolts off, and this whole unit can be replaced. Now this sounds like it's steel, also tied to the aluminum, so it's more durable, probably not going to crack. But yeah, hopefully this is not stronger than this, and we make problems for this in a big crash, but we'll see. I'm sure the design is the way it is, and it's actually just nice to have the ability to change this out if it gets damaged on rocks and whatnot. The swing arm is very, very sleek, very simple. It comes with an S3 44 tooth. Wow, that's interesting. Where most bikes have, I think the Electromotion starts off with a 57. Even the old Escapes had a 48 tooth. Not exactly sure what the front tooth count is on this. Looks like it looks like a regular size too. It's a regular size sprocket on the front. I'll put it down on the screen what that front sprocket really is. But yeah, it's an interesting gearing ratio. I'm not exactly sure what the gearing internally is as well, and that will make a big difference. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And on your rear tire, of course, matching the front, you have the Dunlops. You have a 120, 100, D803 GP trials tire. Still gummy, just as good as the Michelin's. Oh, this guy's running a lot of pressure, but yeah, it's a good tire that comes stock. And then, of course, standard Galfler rotors. Oh, in the rear and also in the front, Galfler rotors with the Brake Tech rear master cylinder for your rear brake. Okay. All right, so this is the last thing. If you're wondering where the hell is the battery is right here. It's the whole length of the bike, and this is another interesting thing that MECATECHNO has taken on for getting the weight just lower on the bike. With the Electromotion, you've seen me ride it, you've seen it 1,000 times. The controller is back here, so you have some weight there, and of course the EM battery pack is more up here. And it has more of a traditional style trials where the frame comes from here to here. So that's, you know, it looks more like a traditional trials bike. This is really breaking the mold and going a whole, you know, 90 degrees from the standard, you know. So new frame design, and the battery is actually here. What has to happen to change this battery out, or to remove this battery, is that you take off one screw up here, this cover comes off, it's locked in, and then you take off 4 bolts, so 2 here and 2 on the other side that are mounted to the frame, and this battery, which actually ends back here. It has some pretty tight tolerances, but the battery slides in, stops right before the swing arm, and that's locked in. The battery comes out the top and can be replaced easily as well. So another thing that's super good, I mean, the battery seems to be very well protected. This is a metal case, of course, an aluminum case, and yeah, it's just another way to mount the battery, which we probably never thought of before. And it's going to be very interesting to try and ride this thing, and in a proper trial section, which we actually just have, you know, made today, and really see how this bike really feels. So let's stop talking about it. Let's get on the bike and see what it's like.
Do it again.